Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. My name is Murph, and today we're going to talk about some more Marvel Strike Force free-to-play early to mid-game content. And as I said yesterday in my video, what I'm going to be working on right now is kind of going through and updating most of my farm guides that I put out a couple months ago. There's been a lot of recent updates to farmable characters and also characters that are going to be required for game modes going on. So before we get into this, make sure that if you guys are enjoying this content, leave a comment down below. Let me know, do you guys agree with me? Don't agree with me? If it's helping you. I love hearing all of the feedback of you guys, like, new players, returning players that have been gone for a while coming back, letting me know that this is helping them. That's why I'm doing this, to help you guys, because I know that there's a lot of shit going on in this game right now. There's not a whole lot of information covering the early to mid game right now, and most of the information that is covering early to mid game from other content creators is coming from content creators who've been playing this game at the end game level for a long time, so they don't really know what an account actually looks like or what you're capable of doing when you're at level 70, 75, and you're stuck at those gear 13, gear 14 choke points. So let's get into this. First off, going into this, our prioritization for how I organize this guide is based off of another video that I mentioned yesterday that I made a couple months ago to kind of talk about the meta, right? So to sum it all up real quick, we're talking specifically about the Apocalypse meta. If you are building an earlier account still and you want to pursue Apocalypse, this is our meta. I'll get into it in a second. If you decide not to build Apocalypse, that's fine. I'll release a little more content soon again because I did release a few videos early on about, maybe Apocalypse isn't for you. Maybe you missed a lot of the Horseman characters coming out as they were released and you weren't able to get them. You don't want to wait, 6 months for the supporting cast of those Horseman teams to become free to play farmable. So if that's you and you don't want to go for Apocalypse, shut the video off right now. This isn't for you. But if you do want to pursue Apocalypse, I feel like there's going to be some good information for you guys. So, TLDR, Apocalypse, you need your 4 horsemen. You need your 4 horsemen teams. Each one of them is based around a scourge. You run the scourges to unlock your horsemen, your legendary horsemen, and there are 4 supporting characters on each horseman's team. Now, the way this is prioritized is in order to get Apocalypse, you have to have your horseman teams at gear 15 or 17 in order to run the sagas and unlock him. In order to unlock your horseman teams, you need your scourge teams. So as an early to mid game player, it really looks more like this. You need to build your scourge teams so that you can unlock your horsemen and then you can play through your sagas as you go. So, based off of that, the priority for this is going to be a little based off of the scourges and based off of the other game modes as a whole. So, the way we prioritize our game modes right now, Arena is king. Arena is number one, period. If you don't know what to build right now, build your arena team because your arena team is going to give you your biggest income of cores, which is your in-game currency. The only way to get them outside of arena and the rest of like your daily objectives and some of your daily milestones is going to be buying them. And I make this content so that you can follow it as a free-to-play player and not have to spend money on this game and still remain, competitive and relevant. So Arena is going to give you that income of cores. What those cores are going to do is they're going to allow you to spend a high amount of cores during these week-long milestones, these month-long milestones, in order to make sure that you're completing them all, as best we can free to play. Excuse me. And make sure that we're unlocking these characters, we're getting gear and all the other rewards that we need to be getting to build our accounts. So Arena is king. Number 2, Cosmic Crucible is the second most important game mode. The reason for this is because one, you're pitted up against other players, and a lot of them still to this day, at least at the lower tiers when we're early game players, they're not playing the game mode, which means you can take advantage of all these players that are AFKing out of these matches, and you can win and get additional currency and start stocking up now. The reason that the Cosmic Crucible currency is important is because once you start hitting that level 80, 85, 90, this is where the bulk of your gear 16 and 17 uniques and like the other, I always forget what the other pieces are that aren't uniques, but all of your catalysts or whatever they're called, this is the easiest place for you to farm them. The only other places you can really farm them are in the regular supply store with your credits, which a lot of people are credit strapped. If you're credit strapped, go watch my resource video I made a couple months ago. It'll tell you how to maintain all of your training credits and your gold and everything else. But The only other way you can get your gear 16 and 17, at least as far as I know, I'm not level 90 in my main. I'm almost there, and I'm not pushing anything higher than Doom 1 right now. So um, maybe there's more avenues I'm not aware of. But the only places you can farm your teal gear, which is required for gear 17 if you want to max Apocalypse, is out of the Cosmic Crucible store, your regular supply store, through raid orbs, and through your other teal orbs you'll get, from your events, your milestones, whatever else. So when it comes to your raid orbs, it's all random. So you're just rolling dice every time you complete a raid. When it comes to, milestone rewards or event rewards, you're bound to whatever Scopely decides to give you. You you do not have any control over what you're getting out of those. The only places that you have control over, and you still don't really have control over because it's still out of the store, right? So it's random what they put in the store. But if you save your gold and if you save your Cosmic Crucible credits, you have the luxury of being able to buy the pieces that show up in the store when you can. So you can target farm them. Um, it's the most reliable way to farm it. It's still not reliable because it's still RNG if what you need shows up in the store, right? Like I've had Morgan Le Fay gear 15 on my main account waiting for 2 fucking months for her uniques to pop up in the store, and it's been very slow going. And I've been able to buy them whenever they show up, but it takes time. So start building your Cosmic Crucible teams and start paying attention in that. The third thing that we're grading off of is raid teams. That is your third most important game mode, is raids, right? So raids are where you're going to be getting the majority, the bulk of your gear income to build your characters. So it's important you have your raid teams built for Zoom. And additionally, scourges, right? So scourges, if you're pushing Apocalypse, scourges are the most important game mode. However, they only come around so often. So if we're able to farm characters for scourges, we want to farm them. Now, after that, we've got war, which personally, you might care about war, you might enjoy war, your alliance might be hardcore about war. Personally, myself, and my alliance that I lead, I don't give two fucks about war. The reason for it is one, the amount of coordination it takes, two, the rewards. So, one, you're relying on all of your alliance members to be contributing, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But let's say one or two people have IRL stuff come up, or they've got vacations or whatever else, they can't get to the game. Your rewards are dependent on your teammates, and that's not a bad thing. This is supposed to be a team game for you to play with your alliance and have a community. That's honestly some of the best parts of these mobile games, is creating that community of players to play with. But I'm a big proponent of controlling what you can control, and you can't control your payout in war. Additionally, the difference between winning and losing a war, it doesn't matter what fucking rank you are or what league you're in. Maybe I'm wrong at higher ranks, but I'm in plat in both my accounts. And the difference between a win or a loss is 500 war credits. You get 3 wars per week. That means that if you lose all 3 wars compared to if you win all 3 wars, the difference is 1,500 credits. To buy 5 character shards in that store, it's 1,375, I think. So you've got, if you win 3 wars compared to losing 3 wars, you get barely enough credits to buy 5 character shards per week. And that's if the characters that you're farming are showing up at that store. And that's why I don't give two fucks about war, period. The next kind of game mode after that is going to be legendary. So, are there crucial or important legendary characters for you to unlock? And that's going to weigh into this a little bit, but obviously that takes, the backseat over all these other game modes. And that's basically it. So going into it, we have our first tier. And our first couple characters to talk about are Black Panther and Okoye. If you're not farming them, farm them now. They've been important as free-to-play characters in the meta for the last several months since they got a rework. I believe it's been like 5 months or so since they got the rework. But Wakandans are one of the only 3 Cosmic Crucible teams. Black Panther and Okoye are both farmable in campaign nodes. And by the way, this is all campaign farming. This isn't store farming. I'll release another video on store farming soon. But on top of the Cosmic Crucible, they're also required for Chaos Theory, which is going to give you a lot of silver and gold promotion credits for you to stock up on and spend in the Red Star, promotion store. And on top of that, they also were announced recently as the second and final Death Scourge team. So we've got both the Bionic Avengers and the Wakandans as your Death Scourge teams in order to unlock Archangel, the Death Horseman. So that is why they're at the top of this list, because they cover our second most important game mode, Cosmic Crucible, and they also cover the upcoming Surge. Now, um, I know I said arena meta is the most important meta. However, the current arena meta is running Darkhold, and yeah, you can talk about swapping in Dormammu for it, or swapping in whatever plug and play character you want to swap in for Scarlet Witch. But none of the Darkhold characters are farmable in the campaign, so none of them will be on this list. So arena isn't being factored in here, even though I said it was. It is being factored in, but there's no characters available from the arena to use that you can farm out of campaigns. So moving on from that, we've got our two main raid team characters that are going to be on this list. Actually, two of the three. So first up is Miles Morales. He's a member of Web Warriors. Web Warriors is still your bio raid team. I would assume that once this mutant team gets phased out by the upcoming Death Seed team with Archangel and the Death Horseman team, I would assume that Web Warriors is probably the next Doom raid team to get replaced. And also building Web Warriors, you're taking Bio Gear away from your Gamma team, which is your War Horseman team. So keep that in mind. But Web Warriors is still by and far the best bio team for you to use during your raids. Now, Miles Morales also has additional usage under the Young Avengers team. If you don't have all 5 Young Avengers characters built and farmed out, you can plug Miles into it. He's definitely subpar compared to the actual lineup with like Echo and all 4 of the rest of them. But if you don't have Echo yet, you can run Miles Morales. And additionally, Web Warriors isn't just your bio raid team, they're also a required team for nodes 5 and 10 for the Pestilence Scourge, the Morgan Le Fay Scourge, which means he's going to be your third most important character, and he's only 60 energy per day. He's very cheap. Vision is going to be right underneath him. He's a member of your Bionic Ray team. I still haven't updated this. I some sort of like dyslexia. I kept thinking that Bionic Avengers was biotech. I don't know why it kept sticking with me, but it's Bionic Avengers. So Bionic Avengers is the new tech raid team that came out a few months ago. An additional thing to think about when you think about building your Bionic Avengers as a low to mid game player, um, there's no tech horseman team right now. So you can safely build tech characters out for your dark dimensions, for your raid teams, whatever else, and you're not pulling gear away from building your horseman teams. So in addition to being a raid team member, he's also a member of the Death Scourge. The Bionic Avengers double down as both your tech raid team and your Death Scourge team. So building Bionic Avenger or farming out Vision and farming out Black Panther and Okoye, you're farming out 3 out of the 10 required characters for your Death Scourge teams. Now, moving on from there, we've got a team which it might seem interesting because Young Avengers is a war team. That is what their tags are supposed to be. But the reason Young Avengers are all here in this tier as well is because they're required node 5 and 10 Famine Scourge team for your unlock for Rogue. Now, Young Avengers, even though they're a war team, they're also just a very good team to have in general. In the account that we've been following here on this channel, before I had my Web Warriors really built up and running as a raid team, I was able to sub in a lot of the Young Avengers. So, if you have 2 or 3 Web Warriors built, you can typically sub in like Miss Marvel and Squirrel Girl. Squirrel Girl's amazing, by and far the best character on the team to have, and is like the linchpin of this team. And they're also bio characters and city characters, so they get a little more functionality and synergy with the Web Warriors, even though they're not Spider Verse or Web Warrior characters themselves. So it's going to be America Chavez, Squirrel Girl, Miss Marvel, Kate Bishop are all farmable. That's 4 out of the 5 characters for your Young Avengers team. You can farm them every day. You can farm them. Echo is out of the War Store, so she's the only one actually not available on that team from campaign nodes. And after that, rounding out this list, we got Captain America Sam. Captain America Sam is part of the Secret Avengers. You can use him for your Omega Red unlock, and he's also a part of your skill raid team. So you can farm him once you get to the Doom campaign. He's definitely one of the best nodes to farm, and is probably, if you don't have your, like, aside from your Kree characters you just farm out to get your Nick Fury up, he's going to be one of the main things holding you back from Omega Red. And even though Omega Red is a mutant, and we've now got 2 mutant horseman teams to build on, Omega Red was one of my biggest pushes early on while I built this account, and that has slowly dropped by the wayside, and that's mainly just because there's not a lot of gear to go around for mutant right now. It's hard to build them up, and war we just don't care about. And Omega Red has a lot of uses outside of war, like in scourges for villains, mutants, global, all that stuff. But outside of that, I'm just really not getting a whole lot of use out of him. He's great in Cosmic Crucible as well, but I unlocked him the last go around on my main, and I haven't even had time or resources to put into him because I've been building Unlimited X-Men the entire time. Now, after him, we've got Thor as our final character in this first tier, And Thor's up here because this new Hero as Guardians team that came out, even though again, like Young Avengers, it's a war team, it's also a member or a required team for your war Scourge. So your Red Hulk Scourge, Young or Hero as Guardians, and Wave One Avengers was a really good mixture of characters to use for that. And Thor actually gets synergy with both those teams because he has both those tags. So you can farm him out of the Hero 7-3, and that'll round out our first tier. So second tier, tier B, we've got Lady Deathstrike, Kree Noble, Kree Reaper, Kree Cyborg, and Winter Soldier are here. And the reason they're up here, they've fallen down. They used to be tier 1 prior, is like I said, Omega Red just isn't as important now as he was before because I don't care about war. And again, there's not a whole lot of mutant team to go or mutant gear to go around to build Omega Red. Now, Lady Deathstrike, you can build up as a tech character. She's the only character on that team that's tech and not mutant. So the only characters she really has to compete with gear for are your Bionic Avengers, and I don't even know what her uniques are off the top of my head, so I don't know if the uniques even match up with them. But all these characters are here in this tier because I still think pushing for Omega Red is good long term, but they're just not as important as the rest of these characters that are required for raids and for your Scourges and everything else. After this, I moved Star-Lord T'Challa up here. He's one of the new additions to this list because he became farmable since I put out that last video. And something of note for Star-Lord T'Challa is he's a cosmic character and a tech character, which means he's one of the few cosmic characters you can run for Dark Dimension that isn't a mystic character. And all your Darkhold characters require mystic gear, which means if you're building for Dark Dimension Cosmic, a lot of those characters that you're going to be building for it are going to be taking gear away from your Darkhold team. So Star-Lord T'Challa is one way for you to build for your cosmic areas of Dark Dimension and not have to take away from your Darkhold teams. Now, Hela is up here as well. Hela is up here because she has that Cosmic Mystic tag, and she's still just a very strong character in general. And she's also, you can use her to unlock both Black Bolt and Phoenix, even though both of those characters aren't very important for us to unlock in the meta. But Hela is just a very strong character in general, very good for plug and play. You can use her in Scourges for villain nodes, for Cosmic nodes, for Cosmic Mystic nodes. And yeah, and you'll see that a lot of these tier 2 characters will be like, why is this tier 2? It should be tier 3 and 4. Well, that's because as we go down this list, like the gaps of importance on a lot of these characters is it just gets like more and more massive where like these characters really aren't relevant for what we're doing right now. After Hela, we've got Silver Surfer and Thanos, and they basically cover kind of the same areas that I mentioned with Hela. Silver Surfer you can also use for Cosmic and Cosmic Mystic. He's just a strong character in general. However, outside of using for the Scourges, he doesn't have a whole lot of application unless you know maybe you don't have Eternals, maybe you don't have Darkhold, and you need a Mystic character to run for your raid teams. You can add him into your raid teams for the Doom raids for the Mystic tags and use him if you have to. Thanos is up here simply because Thanos for the Cosmic Mystic nodes to pair up with the Eternals is absolutely amazing. His one of his abilities basically generates ability power for allies whenever you kill somebody. So if you pair him up with Icarus, whenever Icarus does his ultimate and just blows the entire field up and just knocks out, 5, 6 characters at a time, he's just throwing ability energy out. And you add Cersei on top of it too, throwing her AoE out. You're basically just like machine gunning ability energy back into those characters so they can just keep using those abilities over and over again. And you just roll right through them. So he's definitely worth farming out and building for the Scourges specifically, but I would not do it at the risk of hampering your Darkhold team again. Now, tier 3 is where things get kind of interesting with a lot of the changes that happened in the last few months. And right now, I've got Elsa, Bloodstone, Ghost Rider, and Dr. Boot at the top here. They're all Dark Hunters teams, which you can use for your nodes 5 and 10 for the Pestilence Scourge. They're really just used as a sacrifice team or as like an initial team to run to knock out some characters before you throw Web Warriors in. But that's really the only reason that they're this high up here. They're kind of one of the passion projects I have in this game, like them and Uncanny X-Men and a couple other teams where I can't really build them right now, but I would love to because they just seem like they're so fun to use. Now, after this, we've got Nobu, Green Goblin, and Kingpin, and they've moved up here from like the bottom of the dumpster all the way up here. And the only reason they have is because they recently got reworks along with the Negative Man, I believe his name is, character that came out with this whole like underworld team. And yes, it's a war team, but I do think that you might be able to start using them for Cosmic Crucible if you have like the resources to invest in them. I don't think they're going to be amazing, and keep in mind the only reason a lot of these characters are this high up on this list is because the characters beneath them are so irrelevant to farm at this point in the game. Next up, we've got Wasp, Stature, and Yellow Jacket. These 3 characters are farmable. They're Pimtech. Pimtech is garbage. The only usage they have is to unlock Jubilee, and you can use them for your gamma raids, which who gives two shits about gamma raids? But Jubilee is still a part of the current mutant raid team that's going to be replaced by the Death Seed team in the next few months. And these characters have fallen considerably down on this list, along with the next two characters, Iceman and Beast, who are a part of the Astonishing X-Men team with Jubilee. And the reason these characters, all the Pym Tech and all the Astonishing X-Men have fallen this low is because at this point in the game, if you don't have your mutant raid team built, you're better off just holding off, building up unlimited X-Men, and running them as best you can, and then building up your Death Seed team when that releases, just because all the gear you're going to put on Astonishing X-Men right now to get Doom relevant is going to be wasted, and it's going to put you back once this Death Seed team comes out. And it's unfortunate because this team is fun to use, but right now, in my personal opinion, I just wouldn't build them if you don't have them already. So next up, the next tier is kind of similar to that, and for same reasons, all these characters have dropped down the tier list as well. We've got Multiple Man and Polaris, who are both a part of the X Factor team, and they're required for your Adam Warlock unlock. Now, Adam Warlock is like the legendary character that plugs into Infinity Watch, who used to be an old arena meta team, prior to Eternals and Darkhold coming out and really phasing them out of the meta. And so they got pushed out of the arena meta. And where that left them is they were good as a strong arena, or not arena, they were good as a strong war team. They're good in Cosmic Crucible as well. And then but they didn't get any Cosmic Crucible bonuses. And then you could use them for some Scourge game modes. The problem is Infinity Watch has been getting killed by new characters coming out, new affixes in this current season of Cosmic Crucible, where they're basically eliminating the Revive Once feature, which, I mean, Nebula, Gamora, and Adam Warlock all have that feature, and it's one of the main features of the Infinity Watch team, is that those characters revive once after being killed, and you can keep using them. And with this team getting countered by so much of the current meta in other game modes, they've dropped significantly down on my list. And that's why Nebula and Mood Dragon are this low as well, when Nebula was much higher up in the priority last time, because she was good to use along with Gamora as an early arena team before you unlock anybody else. I don't even know, honestly, at this point, what I would build if I was a new player and I don't have Darkhold, I don't have Eternals. I don't know that I would build Infinity Watch right now as an arena team. I think maybe I might go somewhere else, like building Wakandans temporarily for an arena team until I get something better. But that's going to round out our third tier of this list. And next up, we're going to have our tier 4, which is going to be pretty big here. And the majority of these characters are in this list because they're either legendary unlocks for legendary characters that don't really matter, or they're going to be part of kind of like your monthly flash events. So starting off, we've got Punisher. He's a skilled military character, and you can use him in the both the city flash event and the skilled military flash events. Punisher actually might be higher up in this list. I honestly didn't really take a look at these two tiers here for movement. He could probably be a tier 3 character just because you can run him in city as skill nodes in the Scourges, and he gives a big bonus up to his allies for doing damage against villains. So he can actually provide a pretty big damage boost in those Scourges when you're dealing with villain enemies in those nodes. Next up, we've got Taskmaster and Korath, and all of them, Taskmaster and Korath match the Mercenary tag, so you can use it for your Payday Gold event every month. Cable's down here because of the Doc Ock unlock, and also Cable's kind of arena meta. You can kind of plug and play him to give a speed boost to your team. But I don't see it too much in the arena anymore now that pretty much everybody has Darkhold unlocked at my level. After that, we've got Black Widow and Yelena Belova. They're going to be your skilled military characters as well. And Black Widow you can also use for your Iron Man unlock. So she might actually belong in tier 3 just because there's not a whole lot of good shield characters for you to farm to unlock Iron Man. And Iron Man obviously is required for your War Scourge and your Death Scourge between the Wave 1 Avengers and the Bionic Avengers. And he's part of a raid team. So, if I had put more time into this, I probably would have moved some of these shield characters up just because obviously the first couple tiers are pretty small, so we don't have a lot of characters to farm there. We probably want to start focusing on shield earlier on. Now, after that, we've got Yondu and Ravager Bruiser. You can use them to unlock Star-Lord, as well as you can use them for the War Scourge. Ravagers was one of the additional tags for the Node 5 and 10, but again, they're just a sacrifice team and they're not too great. And after that, we've got Mysterio and Shocker. And with Mysterio and Shocker, you've got the Spider-Verse tags, and you've got your Sinister Six tags, so you can use them for both the Shuri and the Invisible Woman unlock. We've got Groot here, who is really just good for unlocking Star-Lord. We've got Elektra and the rest of the hand minions, who you can use for Relic Hunt, your monthly flash event. You've got Jessica Jones down here, who you can use for A-Force, who is a war team, and they're not too great. She might belong higher up here just because of the fact that A-Force is used as a sacrifice team in the Famine Scourge. Then we've got our 2 mercenary minions here for the Payday Gold Flash event. And then after that, we've got this whole garbage bin of characters. And there are some good characters in here, but it's just they don't have a place in the current meta if you don't already have them built. So, for instance, Venom, I'm not building symbiotes right now because we've already got Web Warriors and we've already got Gamma to build. I'm not building Uncanny X-Men, so I'm not building Magic Storm or Psylocke or farming them out or Colossus. And that's because Uncanny X-Men is like the 4th priority mutant team for you to unlock. Even though Uncanny is a great team, especially in the Scourges, there's a lot of good use going out there with Storm and kind of abusing her charge mechanics with Magic and the rest of them to just farm up charges one node and the second node just unleashing hell and killing everybody. But again, you build Uncanny X-Men and you're taking away gear from Unlimited X-Men, you're taking away gear from Deathsea, you're taking away gear from your Weapon X. There's other better teams for you to build than them, and it's unfortunate because this team is definitely one of my like long-term passion projects that I would absolutely love to build at some point once I get some spare time. And after that, we've got some other characters like Doctor Strange, Karnak, Hydra minions, AIM shield minions. This tier is really not even worth looking at or talking about, and I'm not going to talk about it any further. I'm going to cut the video because we've already been going on for 26 minutes. So, guys, I hope this video helped you kind of have an idea of reprioritizing what you're farming out right now. If you guys think I'm off base or there's anything that belongs higher or lower on the list, let me know down in the comments. We'll talk about it. And again, if you're enjoying the content, like the video, subscribe, and I'll see you tomorrow for some more content. Thank you.